Betty and Veronica Jumbo Comics 288 was released in October-November 2020. It's got 25 longer comics and 10 one-page comics. I'll recap all the longer comics in this review, but I won't go too much in depth, because that would mean I have a super long video. Also, I'll use public domain photos instead of using actual pictures from the book, just to avoid any copyright issues. The internet tells me that the major selling point of this collection is the first comic, a brand new one titled Fall Back, Fashion Forward. Veronica can't think of ideas for the fashion show, so she steals from her cousin Harper. When Betty finds out, Veronica instantly confesses the truth. I thought it was an okay story, pretty straightforward. It's only 5 pages long. I thought it might be better if it was 6 pages long, but that's just me. Next, hilarity ensues when Veronica and Jughead accidentally switch hats. Next, Betty has a series of amusing nightmares, including one where everyone laughs at her when she shows up at school in her underwear. I know how the guys at Riverdale High normally act around attractive women, and I feel confident in saying they would not react with laughter to see Betty in her undies. Next, Betty and Veronica are bored when they go to 2 different dances. Next, Veronica shows off her new exercise equipment. Humorously, she exercises incorrectly because she's super vain. Next, Betty has a bad day until Archie comes over. Then she thinks it's a wonderful day. I didn't like that strip. Next is a 2-part comic where Sabrina the Teenage Witch casts a spell to make herself more popular. Predictably, she becomes too popular and it backfires. Next, Sabrina casts a spell to make Harvey good at football. This also backfires. As Harvey is injured, Sabrina takes his place in the football game. Next is a 2-part comic where Veronica competes on a game show. She has to answer questions about her friends, and it was pretty entertaining. She has one of her rare moments of genuine kindness when she refuses to say which friend she likes best because she doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Next, Veronica has to write a poem for school. Oh, I just said she was being really nice. Check out this. She tries writing a poem about Archie, but then she realizes Archie's kind of a loser. She'd rather have a boyfriend who's tall, dark, and handsome, so she's gonna dump him for someone else. Yeah, her being a nice person didn't last long. Next is a slapstick comic where Betty gets a cat out of a tree. Next, everyone in school prepares for homecoming. This was my favorite comic in the collection. There are non-stop jokes. Every second or third panel has a solid punchline. It's a good comic. Next is a teenage boy's wild fantasy. While Betty is clothing shopping, 2 hot girls approach Archie and ask for his opinion on their skimpy swimsuits. They model multiple swimsuits for him. Then, 2 hot employees pounce on Archie and force him to take them out on dates. This all leads to a punchline where Betty is confused when Archie says he likes to shop now. The entire story is completely unrealistic. Like I said, it's just some weird teenage boy fantasy stuff. I can assure you that I have never, ever had total strangers pounce on me and demand dates or bikini modeling sessions. I don't know, maybe that happens all the time. I'm just not as hunky as Archie is. Next, the girls swoon over a super hot guy. They're disappointed to learn he has a girlfriend. Archie and Reggie heckle the girls the entire comic. I was a little unsure about this. Their jokes were on the borderline between snappy one-liners and the guys are saying mean things about women because they legitimately hate all women. Next, Betty wants to avoid getting sick, so she uses hand sanitizer and practices social distancing. That's good, that's what you're supposed to do. Her friends insist that no, she's wrong, she's being an obsessive weirdo. They are justified when Betty catches a cold. So the moral of the story is do not take basic health safety measures to protect yourself. This is definitely a comic they shouldn't have published during the coronavirus pandemic. That was a bad idea. Next, Veronica's New Maid is a hot French redhead. Archie falls in love with the maid and won't stop paying attention to her. I'm surprised Veronica puts up with Archie chasing after other girls when he's on a date with her. Veronica gets a different maid, which doesn't really solve the problem that Archie ignores her in favor of other women. Next, Betty accidentally time travels back to the year 1860, where she saves her ancestor from drowning. There's a panel where she's happy to be back in the present. I can tell this comic was originally done a long time ago. The number for the year 2020 is done in a different font. No time traveler would be that happy to be in 2020, and newspapers aren't 50 cents anymore. Next, Betty makes a list of gag gifts, like a giant spatula that flips you over when you're sunbathing. Next, Betty and the sewing club are putting on a fashion show. Veronica insults them non-stop. She gets her comeuppance when a famous fashion designer loves Betty's style. Next, Archie gets one of those new electric-style guitars. This comic must be pretty old if electric guitars are still seen as a new thing. Veronica's dad is upset when the guitar causes electrical problems. Next is a fantasy sequence where Archie is secretly a superhero. Chaos and hilarity ensue. Next, Betty babysits a wild child who runs around a lot. Next, Veronica's supposed to sing, but she has laryngitis. Archie tries to play a tape so she can lip sync, but he accidentally plays the wrong tape. Next, the girls get anonymous love notes all over the school. A teacher identifies the sender from his handwriting. The girls ask him out, and he faints from joy. This is also an unrealistic teenage boy fantasy, I think. Next, a two-part comic about Cheryl Blossom. Cheryl does a video documentary on her old band, the Sugar Girls. When the band members say they don't want Cheryl to rejoin, she makes it a mean documentary that insults them. Cheryl's brother makes an equally mean documentary about her. Last, Veronica hires a little boy to be her bodyguard, but she fires him when he's too protective during her dates. That's the entire collection. I liked 11 of the stories. I thought 4 of them were duds, and I thought the rest were okay. So the way the math works out, I give Betty and Veronica Jumbo Comics number 288 a 6.4 out of 10. Thanks to, well, I'm not going to say who, but thanks to the person who got me this comic collection as a Christmas present. That's the reason I'm reviewing it. I got it as a Christmas present, so hey, why not review it?